It's very interesting that you mentioned your experience with a more senior black woman, because I've had my own. I remember in the last place that I worked, I was also in a media relations PR role, so I had to sit in on an interview with this executive, and I had just moved into that department, so I was meeting her for the first time. And I remember I walked into her boardroom, and her business manager had walked me in, and just like, okay, so and so, this is Sihle, she's new to the department, she's going to be sitting in She never looked up from her computer. She never acknowledged my presence in the room. Never mind say, oh, hi, Sihle. Nothing. That was my first interaction with the most senior black woman in the organization. And I went downhill from there. Oh. So I completely understand how that can be so jarring, because you're thinking, what lens are you currently using if first instinct in response to a black woman in your space, in your working environment, is complete shutdown. Yeah. I do not see you, you are invisible to me. That's so crazy. What culture are we building as black people in the workplace?
Every man for himself, every man and woman for himself as a black person. And it's so scary to see, because my experience was the opposite, really. It was, I had started an organization first, and then my previous boss she came in after. And it was literally like, oh, I'm this person, I'm sunshine and happiness, and I'm so cool, I'm so great. And little by little, it's so interesting. I think I've experienced it twice in the same organization, where you start seeing a bit of the truth about the individual. And
right.
Okay, like certain comments, certain ways they interact with other people, and then you're like, hang on a second, like certain emails that come in, you're like, wait a second. And
there's a disconnect.
And eventually it got to a stage where there's an HR situation where it was, okay, you know what, Phumeza, there's some certain difficult situations that are taking place, and you're thinking, wow, this is a blindsided note. And you're thinking to yourself, but if you are meant to be management, and you're supposed to be managing and supervising, why is it difficult to say, Phumeza, let's have a chat? These are my concerns, these are the areas and issues I think need to be addressed. How do we move forward? How do we work forward? That's the first port of call, you would think. And that situation and others, and I was like, no, actually, this is not kosher. This is not right. This doesn't feel right. And eventually the person left. They moved on to greener pastures, you would think, hopefully. And the truth started coming out, where you find out that, no, you're being spoken badly about in boardrooms. Phumeza doesn't work. Phumeza doesn't come to the party. She's just don't know what she does all day, but her deliverables, and you thinking to yourself, but if no one that I'm working with has complained, where's this coming from? Right? And because you feel for me, I'm just get the job done, the results will show themselves. I'm not look at me, let me get a gold star. And I've realized that perhaps that doesn't work for me in certain situations. I have to be like, this is what I've done, this is how I've shown results. And that was the way that I had to now move forward within that organization. And thankfully, I've left, because I was just like, no, it's not worth it, because you second guess yourself. You start thinking, am I really doing what I'm supposed to be doing? You second guess what you are capable of as a person. You start second guessing who you are. Like, are you a nice person, Phumeza? And I would look at myself in the mirror and be like, okay, so what's wrong with me? Like, is it me? And that's also when I had to say to myself, no, I choose to be a better black female professional. If I get to a position of power where I have to manage another black person, especially if it's a woman, I won't be that person. I won't be that example. I will change the script, and I want myself to have a different experience. I want that junior person to have a different experience, and for them to learn something else, because there's too many of these stories where the black executive, whether it's man or woman, they're out themselves. And heaven help you if you're a junior black person in that space, because you're in it. Like, you will learn to survive in whatever means that you have to, and you have to understand that you're on your own, and that's not right.
What I actually find interesting about these scenarios with black executives who are very kind of self-serving is that as soon as you try to reach out to them, and you are now, by reaching out, you're putting them in a position where they're forced to make a decision about, do I act, don't I act, which is going to show whether or not they have integrity and character. Once you put them in that position where they have to expose who they really are, they hate it. And so they respond negatively to you needing their assistance in resolving issues in the workplace.
Because I think they've chosen which path that they want to follow. And it's okay. Like, own it. Truly, own it. If you want to be self-serving, survive, get to the top by any means necessary, own it. But don't come back and want to now portray the black person and be like, I understand the struggle. Oh yes, I feel your pain, sister or brother. Don't do that, because that's going to irritate me more, because then I'm going to be like, but now who are you really? Because when you go out into the world, you're like, oh, I'm a successful black person, this is what I'm doing, I'm for the cause. I could literally be that person to be like, hi, actually.
Liar!
Liar, cousin fire.
Yeah.
But then also I'm like, oh, do I really want to go down that road? Because it's done. Carry on with life. So for me, I want to say, don't be ashamed to be the person who's out to just make it to the top.
Yeah.
But make that decision, own it, and be okay with it. Because we'll look at you and be like, oh, okay, that's your choice. It's
we know
okay.
where you stand.
We know where you stand. Don't come into the boardroom or into a space, into my space, and portray this image, because then I will just look at you and say, oh gosh, that's just so sad, because you aren't being authentic to yourself. You're probably really exhausted when you get home, because you are acting.
Yeah.
You are really acting. So shame for you. Shame for you.
There's so many things that we can talk about around this topic, but I think what we've covered today really does start getting us to a point where we are able to start questioning how we allow people to experience us in the workplace, but also the kind of spaces that we're building and creating for other people and their interactions with us. So thank you so much for all that you've shared today. I really appreciate you being part of the show. I think one of the biggest takeaways from today's conversation for me is just the reinforcement of the importance of authenticity in our connections, the importance of creating spaces that enable vulnerability amongst us as Black professionals, but also for us to be able to create spaces that are safe for ourselves and for each other. We don't invest enough in those spaces, and we lose so much from it, because our strength is in our connectedness, our strength is in our numbers, our strength is in being able to own and be proud of who we are and what being a Black professional actually means. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of The Epilogue with Sihle Bolani. I look forward to seeing you next time.